Good morning, everyone. Will you join in our gathering hymn, What Gift Can We Bring? Welcome. Welcome, everyone, and please be seated. Good morning and welcome here to First Unitarian Church on this New Year's Eve. Welcome all gathered here in person. Welcome all of you joining us online today. We're a multi-generational community here, and we strive to nurture the individual spirit and together build the beloved community. Everyone is invited to social hour following the service. It will be immediately below us in Fuller Hall downstairs. And if you're new among us today, I want to especially welcome you this morning. I will have a welcome circle to my left in the gallery over here. Would love to meet you and hear what brings you here to the church and see what questions you have today. We'll gather right after the service in the gallery to my left. And if you're ready for a more fulsome introduction to First Unitarian Church, next Sunday after the service, we will have a First Steps class. This is an introduction to this congregation and to Unitarian Universalism. You can come and learn more about that and what it means to be a member. That will also include a tour of our church facility. And if you're here for a while, you'll know that a tour is really helpful to help you learn about this place. So that's next Sunday after the service. And next Saturday, our church will host a special showing of a film about a production of A Midsummer Night's Dream at a prison here in Oregon. You can come and meet the directors, the actors who are part of this film. A number of folks from the congregation were quite involved in this project, so this is quite a wonderful film. It will be next Saturday at 3 o'clock in our Buchanan reception space. Free admission, and you can learn more about it in this week's e-news. Finally, I want to introduce our musicians this morning. They're the band Dooley, and some of them may look familiar. They are wearing our different hat this morning, a couple of them. They are from our Sunday Sexton team, but today they're on the chancel offering music. That's Joey Moeller and Matthew Hirely. So welcome to our musicians, and welcome all of you once again. And let's take some time now to greet one another as we gather here and as we gather online. Danielle will light our chalice here in the sanctuary. Let's come back together. And if you're at home, I invite you to light a candle or chalice there. We are Unitarian Universalists. We light this chalice in faith, in hope, and in love.
No road to take. Thanks, y'all. I call us into worship this morning with words from Erica Hewitt. This is the season of endings and beginnings, when the small signs of dawn pierce through the night and something new is born. But first comes the waiting. First come the lessons of endings and beginnings. The presence of life, the sheltering spirit of love, grieves with those sweeping up the debris of loss, waits with those who restlessly reach out for change, grants us courage in the night to guard each other's dreams for this holy, wondrous universe. Grant us, O universe unfolding in mystery, a sense of your timing. May we loosen our grip on that which doesn't serve us, leaving behind that which we have outworn and outgrown. Teach us the lessons of beginnings. Remind us that such waitings and endings may be a starting place, a planting of seeds which bring to birth what is ready to be born, something right and just and different, a new song, a deeper relationship, a fuller love in the fullness of time. Let us worship together this morning as we prepare to welcome in a new year. Now please rise as you are able, in body or in spirit, as we sing together, Rising Green.
Thank you.
Our responsive reading this morning is by Greta Crosby. Let us not wish away the winter. It is a season to itself, not simply the way to spring. When trees rest, growing no leaves, gathering no light, they let in sky and trace themselves delicately against dawns and sunsets. The clarity and brilliance of the winter sky delight. The loom of fog softens edges, lulls the eyes and ears of the quiet, awakens by risk the unquiet. A low, dark sky can snow, emblem of individuality, liberality, and aggregate power. Snow invites to contemplation and to sport. Winter is a table set with ice and starlight. Winter dark tends to warm light, fire and candle. Winter cold to hugs and huddles. Winter want to gifts and sharing. Winter danger to visions, plans, and common endeavoring, and the zest of narrow escapes. Winter tedium to merrymaking. Let us therefore praise winter, rich in beauty, challenge, and pregnant negativities. Now let us join in our doxology, Spirit of Life.
It is our custom here at First Unitarian to share our offering with community organizations in concert with our own church mission. This church year, we're dedicating our shared plate to community organizations that uplift the dignity of and provide essential support for people experiencing houselessness. We share our plate this month of December with We Shine. We Shine designs, builds, and operates neighborhood-based micro-villages that provide safe transitional shelter with wraparound services for Portland's underserved, unsheltered adults as they prepare to become successful tenants in permanent affordable housing. We Shine prioritizes BIPOC and LGBTQIA+ applicants. To give this morning, you can find a QR code if you're online or here in person, and you can give that way through your phone. Or our ushers will be through shortly to collect cash and checks. Thank you for your generosity that supports this congregation and for our partners in the community.
a setting sun that's gone to hide. When you wander home a bit too late into the out, my love, you're like a setting sun, just out of sight. Wander around the moon, waiting for night. Out the things you can barely see as you float through the sky. Out, my love, you're like a setting sun that's up and
We take time each week in our service to hold up concerns of our community life together. Just a reminder that every Sunday you can light a candle of intention in one of our galleries. You can also leave a prayer request that will be held by our ministers and our lay ministers through the week. You can also send intentions to prayer at firstunitarianportland.org. One concern to name this week, we hold a member Eric Bergman. Eric fell and fractured his ankle while doing something he loved earlier this month. He was birding in southern Oregon and he took a bad fall. We send our healing thoughts his way as he recovers in these weeks ahead. Will you join me now in a spirit of prayer and meditation? Spirit of life and of love, God of many names and of no name at all, hear our prayers this day. We come, Spirit, on the cusp of a new year, and with that we bring our expectations, our hopes, maybe our share of fears. What of this year that is ending do we need to bring forward? What is it that we need to leave behind? Be with us now as we cross this threshold, as we make this new beginning, as we mark this liminal time, one that presents opportunities and perhaps a moment to better imagine what might indeed be. And remind us too, Spirit, of what is constant, no matter the day or the year, no matter what it is that we face. Remind us of the through lines in our lives, this community, those we love who are with us and around us. And remind us of that love which surrounds us and holds us through it all. Yes, even in the midst of change, even in the midst of loss, even in the midst of what might be a new beginning. Guide us as we navigate these tender times. Call us, Spirit, in all of our days to do the work of love. Amen. Let's take some time now and be together in silence. Let's remain seated as we sing together, I brought my spirit to the sea. Our reading today is an excerpt from Annie Dillard's nonfiction narrative, Pilgrim at Tinker Creek. The book recounts Dillard's explorations of the natural world around her home in the Blue Ridge Mountains near Roanoke, Virginia. This section is the chapter describing winter at Tinker Creek. It is winter proper. The cold weather, such as it is, has come to stay. I bloom indoors in the winter like a forced forsythia. I come in to come out. At night I read and write, and things I have never understood become clear. I reap the harvest of the rest of the year's planting. Outside, everything has opened up. Winter clear cuts and reseeds the easy way. Everywhere paths unclog. In late fall and winter, and only then can I scale the cliff to the Lucas orchard, circle the forested quarry pond, or follow the left-hand bank of Tinker Creek downstream. The woods are acres of sticks. I could walk to the Gulf of Mexico in a straight line. When the leaves fall, the striptease is over. Things stand mute and revealed. Everywhere, skies extend, vistas deepen, walls become windows, doors open. Now I see the house where the Whites and Garretts lived on the hill under the oaks, the thickly grown banks of Carvin's Creek, where it edges the road, have long since thinned to a twiggy haze, and I see Marin and Sandy in blue jackets out running the dogs. The mountain's bones poke through, all shoulder and knob and shin. All that summer conceals, winter reveals. Here are the birds' nests hid in the hedge, and squirrels' nests splotched all over the walnuts and the elms.
I've been in Portland for almost 5 months now, and I still can't quite get my bearings. I am an East Coast girl, so having an ocean to my west and mountains to my east leaves me feeling totally turned around. My wife and I call Mount Hood Surprise Mountain because its appearance around a corner on a clear day is almost always unexpected, despite its quite fixed position. During the solstice service, I had to ask a helpful congregant which way the chapel faced so I could orient myself for the calling of the directions. In this still new city, I'm never quite sure where I am. When we moved here this summer, we chose which of the 2 bedrooms in our rental house we would sleep in based on a large window that was almost entirely obstructed by a beautiful maple tree. I loved leaving the blinds open at night, so the sun-dappled green leaves were the first thing I saw when I woke up each morning. But as autumn and then winter approached, the tree began to lose its leaves, and each day I could see a little bit more out that window. I could see our street and the passing cars, other houses and streetlights and neighborhood trees that I had no clue lay within the window's view. With the extended sight lines, things begin to click into place. I know which way the house faces, and as a result, where Mount Tabor is in relation to the house, or my favorite coffee shop, and then from there I can figure out the direction of the river and the bridge I cross to get to work, the highway that takes us into the gorge, and maybe eventually even the location of Mount Hood. My mental map is getting clearer and more precise. As much as I mourned the loss of those beautiful leafy morning views, the winter months are helping me, quite literally, find my bearings. And that feels like an appropriate place from which to begin a new year. And today marks the last day of the year in the Gregorian calendar. At midnight tonight, we will ring in 2024. But this is just one understanding out of many about when the new year begins. So many different cultures celebrate the new year in different ways during different seasons, and there is a particular appropriateness to each of them. For example, the Christian liturgical year began a month ago with Advent, in the midst of deep darkness, with hopeful, quiet waiting and anticipation of new birth. Other traditions mark the beginning of the new year in autumn. Our own congregation marked the beginning of the new church year in September, coinciding with a return to school and work after the slower pace and far-flung travels of summer. A new year marked by homecomings. The Jewish tradition celebrates Rosh Hashanah in late summer or early fall, with the blowing of the shofar and the eating of honey and apples in hopes of a sweet year. But this is just one of 4 different New Year's observances in Judaism, each one marking a different way of ordering time and understanding cycles. In the Northern Hemisphere, spring often carries with it a particular air of newness, beginnings and rebirth as buds appear on trees and people emerge from winter hibernations inside. Some Buddhist traditions mark the New Year following the first full moon in April. And the Islamic New Year, determined by the Muslim lunar calendar, often falls during the summer months and involves mourning and fasting. Across the globe, through all of the seasons, we mark the turning of the years, sometimes with fasting and sometimes with feasting, with symbols of water and rituals of fire, with acts of repentance and the making of resolutions. Always we begin again, reads the rule of St. Benedict. The variety of New Year's celebrations, religious, secular, and more often than not, that fuzzy space in between, seem to affirm this human impulse. As a species, we seem hardwired to mark cycles, seek new beginnings, and carve out space for reflection, renewal, and recommitment. And there is a deep wisdom to be found in the particular season and landscape that greets each of these New Year's traditions. But today, we celebrate the marking of a new year that in the northern hemisphere coincides with winter. The warm candlelight and hustle and bustle of the December holidays is fading, and we are settling into what Annie Dillard calls winter proper. Some of the trees are bare, parts of the country are already covered in bright, clean snow, and the air is crisper and colder. The days are brief, but imbued with a particular kind of clarity and sparseness. What does this landscape have to teach us about new beginnings? Like my winter window view, can we understand this particular turning of the new year as an opportunity for finding our bearings, for using the less obstructed sightlines of these barren months to help orient us in the world? Whatever you are carrying with you into the sanctuary this morning, whether you bring a heart that is heavy or hopeful, the winter landscape is saturated with metaphor that can help us find our way through the threshold of this new year and begin again. Perhaps this year, winter is inviting you to focus on the deep structure at the center of your life. Writer Madeleine L'Engle tells us that winter reveals the structure of things. When the deciduous trees and plants are unadorned with leaves and blossoms, the trunk and branches are exposed. Although we might use words like empty or skeletal or bare to describe these trees, they are in reality quite magnificent. What we are glimpsing is the structure that carries and supports the colorful beauty through the rest of the seasons. This is the source from which so much joy and bounty blooms. And so it is with our own lives as well. During times of loss or hardship, when we feel almost stripped bare, we can see what lies at our core. What is it you are building your life around? When fleeting things fall away, what remains at the very center of your existence? Perhaps it's your own sense of self, your family and community, whether inherited or chosen, or maybe even your faith and spiritual life. Maybe it's a deep understanding of the love that lies at the center of the universe and holds us all. After all, this church year, we've been exploring what it means to keep love at the center. Winter can be a time to tend to these deep structures, to care for their health, or to see them with new, appreciative eyes. It can be a time of regrounding in what is most important, and ensuring that we are deeply rooted and able to support the weight of spring and summer's fruits. I've often found winter a rich time to deepen a spiritual practice, journal, reread a favorite novel, or have a long conversation with an old friend. Rena Maria Rilke once wrote in a letter to a friend, "Tending my inner garden went splendidly this winter. Suddenly to be healed again and aware that the very ground of my being, my mind and spirit, was given time and space in which to go on growing. And there came from my heart a radiance I had not felt so strongly for a long time." Rather than making resolutions that we are sure will turn us into a different person, more productive or athletic or attractive, perhaps winter invites us to use the new year as a time to reconnect with who we already are deep in our core. Winter is a time for grounding, but it can also be a time for visioning. For the sparse landscapes reveal not only structure, but also wider vistas. There is a spaciousness and a clarity to the landscape that feels well suited to imagining new possibilities. Maybe this winter is inviting you to ask what leaves in your own life you need to let fall so you can see more clearly. It will look different for each of us, but I would guess we all have something in our life that is taking up too much space, obstructing our view or preventing something new and beautiful from unfurling in its place? Can we let go of whatever it is we're so desperately clinging to, and then rather than rush to replace it, can we leave that space open for discernment and clarity and healing? Science tells us that when a deciduous tree loses its leaves, the tree releases a substance that begins to heal the scar that has been left behind and protect it from infection and water loss, so eventually something new can grow. Maybe we can learn to make the most of the wider vistas that we find when this healing is happening and the branches are bare. Maybe in the clearing, we can see a new path for ourselves, like Annie Dillard's assertion that in the winter she could walk to the Gulf of Mexico in a straight line. Can you see a new vocation emerging, or maybe a way through a challenge that until now had seemed like an impasse? For in the winter, Dillard tells us, walls become windows and doors open. Or perhaps, with a less cluttered view, we can see a different future for our world and for each other. Maybe making a little more space in our field of vision will spark our prophetic imagination, helping us envision a more just and liberatory future. After all, aren't prophets people who are able to see with great acuity what's happening in the present and perceive a future the rest of us have not been able to clearly glimpse? We often think of winter as a time of going inward, of hibernation and introversion, but that work can be in service of a greater good. Hebrew and Christian scripture tells stories of prophets going to the wilderness to seek the voice of the divine. Many modern prophetic voices, such as Howard Thurman and Thomas Merton, have also been deep contemplatives. And Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. made retreats to the mountains of North Carolina and the Penn Center in South Carolina, where he felt more free to admit to his closest friends and allies, "I am still searching myself. I don't have all the answers." Prophets often seek out these kinds of winter spaces, free of distraction. Vision and clarity often come in times of stillness and sparseness, when our eyes and our minds are less cluttered. I am reminded of Martha Postlewaite's poem, Clearing, where she offers this invitation: create a clearing in the dense forest of your life and wait there patiently until the song that is your life falls into your own cupped hands and you recognize it and greet it. Only then will you know how to give yourself to the world so worthy of rescue. Maybe this new year you are feeling called to create a clearing, to invite a winter simplicity and spaciousness into your life that will help expand your vision and imagination and make way for new possibilities. But this has been a long year, and for many it has not been an easy one. I know many of us here are ending the year tending wounds and grieving losses. Our hearts are breaking for the lives lost and homes destroyed in Israel and Palestine, and we are anxious about the upcoming election year. Maybe the idea of tending to the structures of your life or allowing winter vistas to expand your vision brings you healing and hope, and that's great. But if it just makes you feel more exhausted, that is okay too. Perhaps winter is inviting you to simply lay fallow for a bit, to rest, to cease producing things, and ready the ground for new growth in the future. For we can only begin again if we have truly stopped. Writer Catherine May, the author of Wintering, The Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times, writes, "The changes that take place in winter are a kind of alchemy, an enchantment performed by ordinary creatures to survive. Plants and animals don't fight the winter. They don't pretend it's not happening and attempt to carry on living the same lives they lived in the summer. They prepare, they adapt, they perform extraordinary acts of metamorphosis to get them through. Winter is a time of withdrawing from the world, maximizing scant resources, carrying out acts of brutal efficiency and vanishing from sight. But that's where the transformation occurs. Winter is not the death of the life cycle, but its crucible. So if you need permission to not make any resolutions this year, you have mine. An early winter new year is a reminder that beginnings are often dark and quiet. Irish poet John O'Donoghue reminds us that sometimes a period of preparation is necessary, where the idea of the beginning can gestate and refine itself. In winter, when nature appears dormant and uneventful on the surface, great changes are readying underneath. So if all you can manage this month is letting yourself rest, giving yourself over to the quiet stillness of January, that too is a new beginning. Perhaps the most honest and true beginning we can muster. As a child, January 1st never felt like a new year to me. I was more likely to mark years beginning in September when I'd entered a new school year, or maybe on my birthday when I could count myself another year older. Nothing actually happens on January 1st, I'd proclaim. It feels so arbitrary. But as I get older, as I find myself noticing things like the winter view out of my bedroom window, I'm coming to appreciate the wisdom of a January New Year. Maybe very little changes externally, but winter is a spiritually rich time for things to change internally. It was in winter, after all, that Henry David Thoreau made his famous assertion that heaven is under our feet as well as over our heads. All around us, nature is inviting us into the work of new beginnings. In winter, we are invited to not just begin again, but to begin again in love, in those familiar words of Rob Eller Isaacs. In love for ourselves as we make space to rest and tend to our souls. In a fierce love for the world as we expand our vision of what is possible. And with a renewed awareness of the deep and abiding love that holds and supports us at our very center. This new year, rather than making strict resolutions meant to last all year, I invite you to simply embrace the spiritual gifts of the season. Let the winter landscape and all its beautiful sparseness guide you through the turning of the year. I'd like to leave you this morning with a winter blessing from Reverend Rebecca Parker. In the shadowed quiet of winter's light, earth speaks softly of her longing because the wild places are in tears. Come, she cries to us, kneel down here on the frosty grass and feel the prayer buried in the ground. Bend your ear to my heart and listen hard. Love this world, she whispers. Distill peace from the snow and water the cities with mercy. Weave wonder from the forest and clothe grief with beauty. Rest in the rhythm of the turning year. Trace the bending arc, rounding the curve toward justice, and vow anew to do no harm. The winter trees stand watch, haloed in the last gleams of the slanting sun. Glory sings here. Heaven echoes the call, repeat the sounding joy. Make your life an answer. Bow, praise, rise. Amen. Now let us rise in body or spirit and join in singing the ceaseless flow of endless time. Friends, I wish you a happy new year, but send you forth with the reminder that every season, every day offers opportunities to begin again in faith, in hope, and in love. So be gentle with yourselves this week. This is not your only chance. But for now, this is the day, the season, the year, the new beginning that we are given in this moment. So let us rejoice in it and be glad, whatever that might look like for you. Go in peace and practice love. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Happy New Year.